Hey, Metacasters, leaders listening in. You want to be a better leader? You want to solve problems in your organization? This episode has the answer, the critical one answer to make you a better leader.
A common thread Bob and I see and hear and talk about is change and leaders getting frustrated with the pace of change not happening with which they hoped slash thought slash were told it was going to happen. All kinds of reasons, all kinds of thoughts. Today's episode is about why that is and what leaders can and should do about it. Now, I think Bob is a little fired up about this topic. So I'm just here to set it up. Then I'm going to step back and protect myself.
Well, and provide a fulcrum to my beautiful ideas. So,
Oh, okay.
so, so, or a breath of fresh air, or a dose of
Ooh,
reality.
definitely a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
So, Josh,
That's my job.
a story I ran it. I was talking to a potential client, and so I'll start with a story that explains my dismay. Uh,
Mm,
and two coaches are coaching, are part of a transformation team, uh, transforming an organization, agile transformation. Teams are doing pretty well. Teams are doing so well that most of the impediments that are surfacing are leadership driven impediments. Imagine that. Uh, and then so these change agents, and they're in leadership roles, uh, scheduled some time with senior leaders, like think COO, CEO,
mhm.
CTO, stuff like that. And they were talking to them about their need to change, right, in order to support the organization. Make sense?
Mhm.
And what they got back was a lot of you need to measure. We need a new measurement system. We need a new data tracking system. We need to install safe. I'm making that up only because I hate safe Metacasters. We need to do. You need to do this. You need to improve efficiency, etc. So what happened was fairly well running, not perfect organization, really accelerating. You know that Lulu stuff, that teal and green and orange and amber. It's like sort of a maturity. So agile. So an agile evolutionary scale. So the teams were becoming greener using that, and the leaders were back here at amber orange, like traditional leaders. And at some point, as the teams progress, they start stretching like with the leaders' behavior, and that's what was happening. And the leaders deflected back. And and what I'm riled up about is the teams are no longer the problem,
Right.
right? The teams are not the problem. You are the problem as a leader. And I wish more leaders. I have this notion that instead of blaming anyone else, instead of having all this leadership staccato stuff, well, you need to do this, and I recommend this, and I need more data, and oh, it's not going to meet our ROI, and you need to squeeze more juice out of the lemon, or blah 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 blah. That I want them to look in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm the problem, and take personal ownership. And I don't see very many leaders doing that. So I'm a little bit ticked off about that.
Ooh. And I think that's fair. What you're describing is not leading.
Hmm.
And that is one of those things that I have seen consistently. Yes, there's operational problems with the teams. Maybe we need to change the way we do some ceremony, but the largest issue historically comes from leadership. And it comes from leadership because leadership, guess what, is not leading. And what is leading change? So that's where I want to dig into, like, okay, yes, anybody that's out there listening, cool, this is a problem. Bob and Josh, who've seen it hundreds of times, are telling you this is where the problem starts. And actually, that's where the ceiling is going to limit. So what Bob is just talking about is that company has a ceiling. That company, that team, try as they might, as amazing as they're going to hire, they're going to have a ceiling, and that's going to be the capability of that leadership team to actually lead and
You
be the
you
change.
you just hit it, Josh. And that's the frustration that's happening at the team level. The team has hit its threshold, and they're not. They got, they're not perfect. No one is saying the teams don't have issues, but they've agilified themselves and really worked down that path, and now they're really bumping their heads up against the threshold. Like 99% of the impediments are not team-centered impediments. The root cause is leadership issues, lack of prioritization, lack of communication, all of these things, lack of understanding agile, lack of understanding autonomy, and the team is just keeps bouncing in, and morale is now, and now what's happening is morale
Yeah.
is starting to decline because we're not walking, you're not walking your talk. Oh, by the way, Metacasters, did I say these same leaders said go be agile? Right? I mean, it's not, the teams aren't running amok. They're doing exactly what the leaders asked them to do. Uh, but then Scrum is revealing that, or Agile is revealing the issues. But I love what you said. Right now, the juxtaposition, Josh, is the teams will go no further, and they actually can erode
Yeah.
until the leaders respond.
And that's where I spend so much of my effort and energy on is coaching and educating leaders. And that's where the challenge to me, if I were to, be able to magically hit the rewind button for that company, it would be for those agile transformation leaders. They should have invested more upfront with those leaders and done
Yeah.
education
Yep.
and really, and this is the thing that I do that I hit as hard as I can, is the success of this transformation is 100% dependent on the leaders in this room. This group of people, you are going to be the ones that determine how successful this is. And that's a very important conversation to have because they're not thinking that. And that's not their fault. So it's my job as a transformation consultant or whatever label you want to give me for whatever gig I'm in, is my job to leave that company in a better space. And ultimately, what I don't want to have happen is I don't want to have that ceiling sneak up. And so it's very important for leaders. So any leader that's out there, we need you to, like, whatever you're doing, stop, listen. Bob and I are going to share with you a handful of things that you should be doing as a leader if you desire for change to not only happen, but to continue for perpetuity within your org. And the number one thing is you have to be the change agent. You have to change continuously. You can't ask people to go change if you're not changing. And as the leader, all eyes are on you. So you have to, what might feel like you're over investing, you're not. You are doing the right amount of investing in how you change and evolve as a leader and how you lead the organization in changing. And I tell you what, when you're out front, when you're leading and when you're modeling that behavior, change just kind of happens because everybody looks around like, oh, the CXO, wow, look what they're doing. This is exciting change. This is cool. Like, okay, this is the thing we do. Hey, Barry, Bob, let's try something. And it just becomes a part of the culture.
Can we can we
But
ch- can we try it in perpetuity?
yeah, I had to really focus to get that word out
To get it out.
smoothly.
That I felt your pain in pulling that word out.
It wasn't easy, but yeah, that's it. It's you have it starts with leaders, and it really is. It really, I mean, that is going to cap what you can do.
Can I suggest one thing for leaders to do, Josh?
Mhm.
The one thing, and I want to see how you react. Um, so leaders, you don't have problems anymore. So let me give you, you're frustrated with the team. You're frustrated with the team's quality, with their effort, with their mindset, with their accountability, or you're frustrated with individuals. Josh works for you, so you're frustrated with his stubbornness. You're frustrated with his dress code. You're frustrated with him nodding his head, or you're just pissed in general and you're disgruntled. The organization is broken. The DevOps pipeline isn't working effectively. Automation is a waste of time. All of this stuff. And you have problems that you need to fix. So where do you go? Here's the magic, the secret sauce, right? The magic. I'm revealing, I'm opening my kimono. We're looking behind the curtain. Look in the mirror. You created the problem. It's not a team problem. Every problem you encounter, before you talk to a team member, before you talk to Josh about his dress code, I want you to look in the mirror and say, what am I doing to set the space? What part did I play in Josh not understanding that ripped t-shirts are unacceptable? Right? what what part? But in all seriousness, if people, right, what am I doing? You're setting the ecosystem. You're setting the example. Now, you may talk to the team, but I want you to understand the part that you play. As leaders, we don't just play a part in the success. We play a part in the environment we're setting up for the failure. So for any problem, look in the mirror first and say, I am the problem. And what can I change to make that better? It might be just simple communication or whatever it is. Josh, now tear me to pieces.
I can't tear you to pieces because that's how I lead. When I feel that something is wrong as a leader, I feel this immense responsibility of this is my fault. Something I have done directly, indirectly, inadvertently, on purpose has created this situation. I have enabled this to happen. This is my fault. So, what can I do to change it? And the best thing you can do is be intentional about it. Don't don't try and like work around it or ignore it. Get out in front of it and say like, "Hey, we have this issue. Here's how I screwed up. Here's what I'm changing. What else do you think we can do, team? Let's talk about this." Put it out there. Be upfront about it. Don't try and like dance around it.
Yep.
Put the daggone thing on the table and attack it. But attack it first. Attack yourself first. Accept the reality that as a leader, it is my responsibility for us to be as successful as possible. It is my job to orchestrate, design, whatever word you want to use, an organization that just succeeds. Think about any sports team. If a team's not winning, who gets fired? The head coach. That's the first person to go.
Right.
Why? Because that was that person's job to build and assemble a team, orchestrate all the efforts that they're doing, call the right plays, do whatever it is so that they win. And if they don't win, that person's out. You have to look at yourself the same way. It is your responsibility for this company, for this organization, for this team, for this family, whatever it is, to be successful, whatever that looks like. And if it's not, it's on you. And you know what? The cool thing is the easiest thing to change is yourself.
Yep.
So it might feel like this heavy weight, but it's actually a good thing because you can have that conversation with yourself. You can be frank and you can realize, okay, cool. I gotta change the way I talk. Like I am not presenting things in a positive manner. It's creating an issue, blah, 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 blah. There's a ton of things, but it has to happen with you. So as much as Bob and I went into this talking about being good cop and bad cop and Bob having this frustrated view and me coming in with like all these like, well, hold on, Bob, let's calm down. Like, no, Bob's right. Bob's right. I know.
I don't know how to handle that. Like that was like a flaming meteor that stopped me in my
Well,
tracks.
the good news is I can edit this out.
Yes,
So as far
yes,
as
yes,
like
you
no
can.
one knows that happened.
Absolutely. And Medicasters were not naively saying, and leaders, we're not naively saying 100% of the issue is you, right? It's not. But what I'm saying is, where do you look first? If there's a morale problem, for example, your teams lack morale, they lack energy. And you see it, and it's affecting everything. It's a real problem. All right. So all I'm saying is that's step one, recognition. Step two, look in the mirror, no BS, and say, what part of that do I own? What part of that am I of? And you own a part of it. And then what can I do, to Josh's point? And then share that accountability with the team. But go there with your ownership, communicate your ownership part of that, right? Now, what's the default reaction? Default leaders. What, there's a morale problem. I'm going to go out. and schedule 22 meetings. And we're until everyone smiles in the survey, we're going to have meetings, right? I'm fixing, and that's what I'm, the normal reaction is they have a problem and I need to fix it, right? It's about them. And I'm actually creating this shared view. And it's there anyway, right? And it's ineffective to just sort of put everything to the team. So that's the delta. That's the decision you have to make.
I would challenge that it's not shared. I would challenge that you own it completely as a leader. Like this is the role you play within the organization.
Yeah,
This is what you signed up for or were signed up for. Like this is the job. Your
yeah.
job is to find ways to do whatever you need to do for this group of people to be as successful as possible. That's the job. So if you're not doing that, you're not leading. And if you're sensing these troubles within your organization, it's time to hit the pause button. And as Bob has said a couple of times, look at yourself in the mirror and saying, what am I doing that's causing these problems?
Or I am the problem. Going back to my story, Josh, this is a real
Mhm.
story, Metacasters. I'm not this. These are people's lives. So what's happening is the teams are hitting that threshold, and they're doing what they should do. They're escalating impediments to leaders, and what are the leaders doing? Holding up a mirror in the other direction and saying, "Don't bring me problems. Bring me solutions," or all of those euphemisms that leaders have to deflect. And now the team is just flopping against the threshold. They're going to lose people. They're going to lose efficiency, etc. So that's the reality of what. And I see this all the time. And the leaders are like sort of blaming the people. That I really part of my feistiness, Metacasters. I want leaders to start blaming themselves for every problem. That's what I mean by the mirror. Every problem that comes up, damn it, it's your fault, right? Take some personal accountability, look in the damn mirror, hold yourself out there, and then step in.
Yeah, my yes and to do a classic Bob ism is yes, and you need to wake up and accept that if you're not doing that, you are not being a leader.
Correct.
And maybe that's not the right role for you. Maybe that's not a thing that you're qualified to do yet or cut out to do or want to do. That's okay. That's perfectly fine. It being a real leader is hard and not everybody wants to do it. Not everybody is comfortable saying, "Okay, we haven't met our goals. It's my fault." And what am I like? Those are hard discussions to have. Those are not fun things to do. Having had them many times with myself, that's but you've got to be willing to tackle that. You've got to be comfortable owning that responsibility because that responsibility is huge and it is heavy. It is heavy. If you're doing it right, bearing the responsibility of a true leader is hard and heavy. So maybe it's not the right thing for you, and that's okay. But please, what Bob is really hitting is the damage and frustration that is done to the rest of the organization because you're unwilling to take on that responsibility. There are people that are doing their darndest and fighting to drive this change that you asked them to go through, and they've done it. And
Yep.
now they've done a ton of effort. They've changed. They've really revolutionized the way the things that they're doing, and they're trying, continuing to do that, and now they're running into a brick wall, and that brick wall is their leadership, and that is a morale destroyer, right? Like, well, wait a minute, like this, you asked us to do this, we're doing this thing, and now you're telling us the answer is to go do something else, or that the problem we identified isn't the problem. Like that's a crushing thing.
Absolutely. That's what these folks are doing. They're like, oh, it wasn't good enough. Now it's almost like to do work. And I've done this to people historically as a leader, unfortunately, right? But it's this deflection back. Oh, you thought you were done and you have performance. Well, we need metrics. We need to measure team member productivity. So we need a metric system. And it's all this sort of, to do work. It's like deflection. Hey, Metacasters, Josh was a little soft there. And he was the soft cop, and he did a it was wonderful. I'm just going to say what Josh said in 10 minutes in like 30 seconds. Hey, leaders, if you can't stand the heat of solid leadership, then get out of the damn kitchen. Find another room. Go to the family room and watch the ball game. But get the heck out of the leadership kitchen. Done. Done. Get out of there. You're doing harm. You're doing harm to yourself, right? And you're doing harm to the organization. And it's okay to go to the family room and watch a football game. So
Yeah.
get out of the
Well,
room.
and this is the second episode in a row, Bob, where I get to utter the words, I wrote a blog post about this.
I Metacasters, I need to go offline. I don't think I can survive the shock.
So this is the reality of the rarity of great leaders. It is rare to
Yeah,
have really great leaders that own and accept this responsibility, which is why Bob and I have said repeatedly, like, it's okay. This is hard. This is often not fun at all. But that hard work, those really great leaders that are doing everything that we're talking about,
right.
is rare. Now, that doesn't mean if you don't have it, you can't get there. That we are not saying that. I think Bob and I will tell you, neither of us are, the sharpest knives in that drawer, but daggone it, we are good leaders. Don't look at me like you disagree with that statement, sir. Don't you?
No, I'm
Don't
not.
you?
I'm the
Yeah,
fork. I'm the fork in the drawer.
you're the rusty old spoon.
Exactly.
but but Bob and I have worked our tails off to become as good leaders as we believe we can be. And we've done the hard things. We've had those discussions with ourselves. So you can get there, but it takes effort and energy to really achieve that. So if you're listening to this and your heart is sunk a little bit, like, dang on, I am really everything they're saying, that's me. And that's not good. That's not uncomfortable. And you're hearing us say, well, then get out of the kitchen. Okay, you know what? Put on your big girl or big boy pants and say, all right, it's time for, again, exactly what we talked about. Look in that mirror. What can I do? How can I change? That's what Bob and I are trying to do with the
Absolutely.
blog posts that I have, with all of the episodes that we've created to help leaders become those rare, great leaders. Bob and I want this to become a less rare thing. Unfortunately, it's relatively rare, but everything we're pouring into this is so that it becomes less rare and more common for people to be and have those really great leaders.
That's what we talk about, agile and results. The key to agile transformations is good leadership or great leadership. And we need more of those, and not just for agile. We need more great leaders in general. Josh nailed it, Metacasters. We're not trying to get rid of leaders. We're not trying to get you to self-select out. That's a positive outcome. We're actually trying to raise the bar on what good looks like. If you have questions, talk to. I mean, if you want to grow, talk to Josh. Talk to me. Josh does coaching. You want to bring him in? Bring him in. The point is, go get help. The world needs the IT world and the agile world needs great leaders. We just don't have a lot, and we're not putting ourselves up on a pedestal. But we have the courage. We have the understanding of we step in and we walk our talk, and a lot of folks don't know how or don't have the skills to do that. Josh, I think we
And
nailed. My oh, go ahead.
yeah, just a final bow I want to put on that. It might sound weird given everything we've talked about really owning the responsibility. Is it's likely not your fault that you're not a great leader. It doesn't
Ah,
just happen,
yeah,
right? So don't listen to this and be like, oh man, like I really screwed up and blah blah blah. Like, no, you didn't. The biggest issue, again, one of the reasons Bob and I do what we do is because there aren't enough good models out there
yeah.
for what great leadership
Uh,
looks like. So it's really really hard for you to know what great looks like and then the steps you need to take to get there. So that's part of what we're doing here is like, it's okay. Fine. Cool. You're listening to this, you're like, yep, that's me. Great.
let's
Well, you
go.
know what? Bob and I have a ton of ways to help you get wherever you need to be.
And I've written a ton of blog posts about it, and Josh has written a few too. And
I
so
have not
and
as many.
not as many, but you're catching up.
I'm trying.
So I think we've landed it, Josh. I feel better now. I got that off my chest.
Good. Good.
So from beautiful downtown Cary, North Carolina.
And even more beautiful, downtown Fuquay Varina,
Ooh,
North Carolina.
I'm Bob Galen.
And I'm Josh Anderson.
Shake.
And bake.
Take care, y'all.